Yes, here we are with Jamie. So much to get through. Jamie, great to see you again. Right, we're reporting that Ange Postecoglu's job is safe and Daniel Levy is going to give him time. Is that the right call?
Yeah, that's the right call. I think we saw enough in terms of, how they play. Last season, they missed out on Champions League football. They'll be desperate for that this season. They haven't made a great start in terms of acquiring one of those positions at the end of the season. But there's still a long way to go. There's no doubt that they're one of the most entertaining, if not the most entertaining team we've probably seen in the Premier League over the last 18 months. But on the back of the result yesterday and how they went about it, and it's something that we've seen before, throwing away leads. We saw that away at Brighton this season. That there's no doubt there's serious questions starting to be asked, but that's the nature of the job. Spurs is one of the biggest jobs in the country, and that'll happen to Ange and whoever comes after him. I want
to talk to you about serious questions because you said at the end of the game yesterday, Daniel Levy done a great job, but he's taken the club as far as you feel they can go. Does that mean the pressure on Postecoglu is a bit misdirected?
Maybe. I think there's separate issues. In some ways, I think, is the coach doing a great job right now? Is this good enough for Tottenham? Is it going to improve? Does it look like it's going to improve? I think Daniel Levy's more of... You're looking at the whole of Tottenham for a longer period of time and a longer period of time in the future as well, going forward. Now, I think with the ownership, more often than not, I think I've defended Daniel Levy on this show for over 10 years because the work that he has done in terms of getting Tottenham where they are now, where I feel at Tottenham Stadium is as good as anything in European football. The training ground is as good as anything, certainly in the Premier League as well. Now, he has been first class in that and getting Tottenham in a position where they can afford a stadium and in a good place financially. That's where he's probably as good as anybody in the Premier League. But is he now the man to instill that winning mentality right through the club, employ the right manager, get the right players across the line? That means Spurs win trophies. Spurs are one of the biggest clubs in this country. They should be competing for trophies, not automatically winning them. They haven't got a great history in that, we know that. But they should be competing with them when you see, this is a big club in London, one of the best stadiums in world football. And right now, that's not happening. So, the buck stops at the top.
Yeah, another loss for them yesterday in that madcap game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Another win for Chelsea. Is it time to maybe think Chelsea might well have got their transfer, the way they deal in the transfers, right?
Yes, it does. I mean, it's been a big surprise to me this season. I really feared for the manager at the start of the season. Players coming in and out. A manager who'd done a really good job at Leicester, but was in the Championship. You had a really experienced Premier League manager in Pochettino who'd moved on. And then he comes in, and then you see the first game. There's a lot of talk about players, Ben Chilwell, Raheem Sterling, being outside the squad as well. So I thought this might be a bit too much for a young coach still learning his way to figure out. But I think probably along with Arne Slot, you could argue, the two most impressive managers in the Premier League this season, the way he's managed that squad. I think he's being helped by the fact that it's not Champions League football. It's, I think, Europa Conference League football. So it means he can give the others a game, means his best 11 is fresh for the weekend, which helps them. But when you look how young that team is, you look at some of the, the players near Lavia yesterday. I know he came off a half-time and he was outstanding. Cole Palmer, we've raved about for so long now. But when you look at that team on the pitch and you look who they're bringing off the bench as well at times, this is a team who, in my eyes, may miss out on the biggest prize this season, but it looks like for the next few years they'll be competing for it.
We'd normally be talking about Manchester United in that breath, but we're not at the moment. Now, Jamie, you've said before that they bottled it, Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, by sticking with Ten Hag. They've now, after a long chase, got rid of their sporting director, Dan Ashworth, after just 5 months. How damaging is that?
Well, the optics are awful. Listen, who knows in the future? We might look back at that and think it was the right decision. But when you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look good. And since Ineos came in, I'm not sure it could have gone much worse, really. I mean, they won the FA Cup, but they keep the manager who they don't really want. They then spend 200 million in the transfer market. Right now, they find themselves in the lowest position they've been at this stage of a season, I think, since 1986, 87. They've had to, sack a manager early in the season. The sporting director who they chased from another Premier League club and obviously paid big money for him in sporting director terms. And now he's gone a few months later. I think if you're a Manchester United fan, that initial joy of someone else being in charge and it not being the Glazers. It was almost anyone but the Glazers. I don't think it's been a great start at all. Not even a great start. It's been really poor from Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos team, and it needs to change really quickly.
Yeah, they're the people in charge of football operations. What about the manager? Early days, of course, but yet another defeat. Are you seeing any signs of progress?
Not really, but I think in terms of results, but we're looking more in the progress in terms of actually implementing the system and what players he's going to use in those positions. And they've got a lot of games at the moment, Manchester United as well, with Europe. And it looks like he's chopping and changing the team every 3 or 4 days. But you're coming into that busy Christmas period as well, and you've got to protect players and make sure you keep players fit. And he's also getting to know the players and who suits what position, because again, it's not like watching the Manchester United team that we've seen under Ten Hag and you can just watch the videos and say, well, OK, that player played in the back four, this is what I like. It's a completely different setup and system. So, yeah, in terms of results, no, but we're starting almost from ground zero. It's a new system, it's a new manager. He's finding out about his players. They've had a couple of good results, a couple of poor results, but that just sums Manchester United up for the last sort of 5 or 6 years.
We're going to talk Arsenal, though, Jamie. Liverpool must have sat on their couches loving it. Manchester City don't get maximum points. Arsenal don't get maximum points. How damaging is that for Arsenal?
I think it's damaging because I said a couple of weeks ago, when Liverpool were getting this lead, it makes other teams who are chasing them, sort of Manchester City, Arsenal and Chelsea, that it almost feels like they're playing towards the end of a season. When you get to the last 10 games of the season, it feels like a draw feels like a defeat. It doesn't normally feel like this at this time because you think you've got the time to make it up, really. But because Liverpool have got a decent lead, it puts pressure on other teams. So that draw yesterday would have felt like a defeat for Arsenal. And as you're right, I mean, Liverpool not playing. And I actually think that worked for Liverpool not playing with the situation, playing Wednesday night, early Saturday midday game at Everton. The weather conditions, Liverpool being without Alisson as well would have been a problem. So I think Mikel Arteta and Arsenal would have thought they can put real pressure on Liverpool. And I think that was a really bad result for them yesterday.
Did score again from a corner. Why has nobody sorted it out?
Because I'm not the set-piece coach. You haven't got me. But listen, the coaches up and down the Premier League are some of the best coaches in the world. So I'd actually focus more on the quality of Arsenal, the work their set-piece coach is doing. This delivery from Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka on the other side. And the brilliant thing about this corner, and when people talk about set-piece coaches, this is a small detail. Now, they did something different in the second half. So the set-piece coach would have been in at half-time and said, OK, this is how Fulham are setting up, and we're not getting any joy, OK? So we're going to do something different. So it's not just about the set-piece coach on a Friday morning going through a few routines. They're actually watching what's going on in-game, and then they're actually coming in at half-time. Yes, the manager's probably giving his speech about the game, but he's then having a few minutes himself and changing the setup. Now, these are the tiniest details that make the difference at the highest level. Now, normally you'd expect them to, when they equalise at 1-1, to go on and win the game. So that small detail of getting back into the game with the set piece gains them a point. More often than not, probably gains them 3 points. So that's what you're getting from these set piece coaches.
Yeah, brilliant. Feels like it's a real pressure game tonight. West Ham against Wolves. Both managers under intense pressure. How high are the stakes on this one result?
I think the stakes are really high. I mean, both managers aren't daft. They know the situation that they're in. I think there's more at stake for West Ham. I think Wolves are probably in the position where most people outside of Wolves would probably look at the situation they found themselves in, starting the season and thinking, yeah, I'd expect them to be sort of fighting relegation. They lost the best centre-back. Max Kilman, he went to West Ham. Neto went to Chelsea. And when you look at the replacements, it hasn't really happened for them. Larson up front's been brilliant for Wolves. But for West Ham, I think we expected a lot more than what we're seeing. So, I mean, I think it's a bigger game for Lopetegui than it is for sort of Gary O'Neill. But listen, we know if either manager loses tonight, there's going to be huge pressure and lots of talk around their job. But I do think the talk should be a lot stronger around West Ham at this moment than Wolves.